At 32, we have DeAngelo Russell, who made his first All-Star appearance last season. Averaging 22 and 7 on alright shooting splits, he is a really solid scorer with a great feel for the game. Unfortunately, he really struggles as a finisher, and because of that, he avoids contact a lot, and as a result, he only averages 2.5 free throws a game, which makes his offensive game fairly limited. For him to take the next step as a scorer, he needs to become more aggressive going to the basket. At 31, we have Devin Booker, one of the best pure scorers in the league. He averaged 26 on 47% shooting, but he did have a down year as a three-point shooter, only shooting 32%. He showed off some playmaking this year, playing a lot of point guard, resulting in 7 assists a game. Those were inflated assist numbers, but I think it's a sign that Booker can be a lead ball handler. He hasn't won shit yet, and he is a terrible defender, but I think with the proper situation around him, Devin Booker could be a top 15 player in the league. At 30, we have Kristaps Porzingis. There is a good chance he is higher on this list 20 games into the season for me. It depends on if Kristaps takes a jump from the season he had before injury, or if he is about the same. I'm expecting about the same, but there's a chance that being out for a year gave him a lot of time to improve his game. Also, I think Rick Carlisle will have a way more creative offensive game plan than Derek Fisher, whose game plan basically broke down to big guy with jump shot, shoot fadeaway. 29 is Donovan Mitchell, another guy that could easily move up for me. He is a really good offensive player, putting up 24 a game along with 4 assists. The only real flaw with Mitchell's offensive game wasn't even really his fault. In Utah, he had no damn spacing. Joe Ingles was the only good floor spacer on the team, shooting 39% from 3 on 6 attempts a game. But this year, they have Bogdanovic, who will be a good shooter, and Ricky Rubio was replaced by the next guy up on this list, who is both a good shooter and can still play make like Rubio without his defender helping off of him. So obviously, number 28 is Mike Conley. Mike is a solid scorer, averaging 21 a game last year and 2 years before that, and he does it on solid efficiency while getting you around 6 assists a game and playing really good defense. He will be a great fit in Utah, and I look forward to seeing what he can do for them down the line. At 27, we have Luka Doncic. Luka had the best rookie season that I have personally ever seen. There have obviously been better rookie seasons, but I am 19 years old. I don't know why everyone thinks I'm fucking 30. Luka Doncic averaged 21, 8, and 6 as a rookie. He was less than desirable efficiency-wise, but still a phenomenal rookie season, and he is already a top 30 NBA player because of it. I don't expect Luka's averages to be a whole lot better this year with Kristaps now there, but I think the efficiency going way up is on the table with another offensive option that the defense has to focus on. At 26, Chris Paul. He was a tough one to place. He had the worst year of his career since maybe his rookie season last season, but CP3 is still a very good shooter, especially in the mid-range, still has great vision, that doesn't go away, and he is still solid defensively. His numbers will probably be inflated a bit in OKC this year, assuming he stays there, which is a probably safe assumption. He is still one of the best point guards in the league. 25 is Drew Holiday. Holiday really broke out in the playoff series versus the Blazers 2 years ago. He averaged 21 and 8 on 46% shooting last season, and his offensive game isn't even the best thing about Holiday. Drew is one of the best defensive guards in the league. I'm interested to see what his future is in New Orleans, because he doesn't really fit with the rest of the team, but he's also really good and not really trade-worthy. I don't know. At 24, we have CJ McCollum. He really stepped up for the Blazers in the playoffs this year. After the OKC series, he actually played better than Damian Lillard in the last 2 rounds. I think he can take another step as a scorer after a really good playoffs. At 23, we have Al Horford. If you looked up the word intangibles in the dictionary, there would be a photo of Al Horford next to it. One of the best defensive bigs in the game, does not make many mistakes on offense, doesn't really make any mistakes, period. I'm curious what he will be like as a power forward this year. He has always been a center, and I'd argue he's a little too slow-footed to play power forward in 2019, but he can stretch the floor, his passing should complement Embiid's game, and he won't be a total liability on the boards anymore because he's starting next next to 3 6'10 plus players. Seriously, this team is fucking tall as hell. 22 is Al Horford's teammate Ben Simmons. Ben gets way too much shit for not being able to shoot. Outside of shooting, he's pretty much flawless as a player. Averaging 17 points a game with no jumper as a perimeter player is not an easy feat, and with Jimmy Butler no longer in Philly, Ben can finally be on ball all the time. I really didn't like that move for the Sixers because any scenario where Ben Simmons is playing off ball is a bad scenario, but with Butler gone, his playmaking should be on full display. 21 is Bradley Beal. I don't have a lot to say for Beal other than Washington, please free this man. He doesn't deserve this hellscape. 20 is Victor Oladipo. He's only this high because I expect him to be like what he was in his first year in Indiana. It's also worth mentioning that I am not taking guys down any points for only playing like 20 games this season. Oladipo is a really good scorer, solid playmaker, and a really good defender. Hopefully he can lead the Pacers into a deep playoff run because I kind of predicted that and looked stupid if they didn't. At 19 we have LaMarcus Aldridge. One of the best scoring fours in the league, has a lethal mid-range game. He's also a good rebounder. That's about all I had to say about him. I also played similar to him when I play basketball in real life, so there's that. At 18, Kemba Walker. He looks to finally get a spotlight on him in Boston this year. He is a really good scorer, solid playmaking, and I think he will just fit way better on this team than Kyrie Irving did. 17 is Klay Thompson, the second best shooter in the NBA and one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. This guy gets disrespected way too much. He is one of the best scorers in the league. I don't give a shit if he isn't creating most of his offense. If you can score 60 points in 3 quarters, you are a great offensive player. I don't give a fuck how you score 60. If you can do it, you are a great scorer. Does he benefit from playing next to Curry? Yeah, but so what? His level of shooting is good for 20 plus a game on any team in the league. That just happens to be more elevated in Golden State. Alright, I'm gonna catch a lot of heat for this one, but at number 16, Russell Westbrook. Russ had the worst scoring average that he's had in 5 years on the worst shooting that he's had in 4 years. One of the worst shooters in the league, least efficient scorers, Russ at this point is a good not great scorer with some great playmaking and rebounding, still a very good player but no longer a superstar in my eyes. The triple doubles don't do anything for me personally. He isn't nearly as good as his averages, and last year his averages weren't even that insane. Also, I don't think he contributes to winning all that much. He might contribute a little bit on a smaller scale, but not on the big stage. His game has too many flaws for me to put him any higher than 16. At 15, we have Blake Griffin, who just had the best year of his career. He averaged 24 a game, shooting 36% from 3 on 7 attempts. Holy shit, I didn't realize he shot that many threes. Damn, Blake. He also averaged 5 assists. His rebounds weren't high, but he was playing next to a guy who averages 16 a game, so I think you can give him a little bit of a pass. Really good year from Blake, and really cool to see him change his game as much as he did. He's basically just a really big small forward at this point. At 14, we have Rudy Gobert. This one is probably going to get some flack as well, but defensively, there is really no one who has more impact than Rudy Gobert. He is one of the best rim protectors, averaging over 2 blocks a game, and with his size and length, the paint is essentially shut down when he is on the court. He sometimes struggles when on the perimeter, but I think that gets blown way out of proportions, and offensively, his game might be simple, but he gets 16 a game on 67% shooting, which is damn impressive. He also grabs 4 offensive rebounds a game, and 13 rebounds overall, which is really damn helpful, so 16, 13, and 2 with some of the best defense in the league gets the number 14 spot for me. 13 is Jimmy Butler. His numbers were a little bit down this year with a reduced role in Philly, but that should not be a problem in Miami. My former favorite player in the league, Butler is a great defender, not quite as good as he used to be since becoming a really more offensively focused player, but still really good. He is great at creating in the pick and roll, one of the best slashers in the NBA. He is a really good mid-range shooter, about average from 3, and also a good playmaker. His numbers should look more like what they did in Chicago in Miami this year as the number 1 option. At 12, we have Kyrie Irving. His off-the-court stuff makes him look pretty rough at the moment. He had a great statistical season with Boston, but he was a toxic presence in the locker room. He fell apart in the playoffs, and overall, he left last season looking very questionable. But last year, he averaged a career high in assists at 7 a game, averaged 24 points a game on nearly 50-40-90, so he's still one of the best offensive players in the league. Hopefully, he doesn't tarnish his image any more than it already is in Brooklyn. And speaking of great offensive players, coming in at 11 is Karl Anthony Towns, who has potential to be maybe even the greatest offensive center ever. In the post, off the dribble, in the pick and roll, from mid-range, in the face-up, from 3, Karl is lethal from anywhere on the court, and he can score in pretty much any way you ask him. He is also a great rebounder, grabbing 13 a game, 3.5 of those being offensive. His defense is bad, but getting better, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being the scoring leader next season. Now we are getting into the top 10, and starting us off at 10, we have Paul George. Paul had an insane season last year, averaging 28, 8, and 4, shooting 39% from 3 on 10 attempts a game while playing elite defense, so elite that he was in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. I expect those numbers to drop to his usual 23 or so points a game next to Kawhi this year, but he's still a fantastic defender and shooter and scorer. I pity whatever NBA offense has to go against George and Kawhi on the perimeter. Next, we have Damian Lillard at 9. He no doubt moved up a few spots for me and a lot of people after his playoff series versus OKC. Some people may view that as overrating him based off of one series, but come on, man. If you watch that series, and if you didn't, what the hell's wrong with you? But if you watch that series, Dame legitimately looked like the best player in the league for those 5 games. He also got the Blazers to the conference finals. They lost in 4, but still, he did get them there. I feel like that series against OKC didn't make people overrate Dame, as some would say. I think it made them stop underrating him, myself included. That series was basically Dame saying, hey, I'm fucking good. You better appreciate it. And I do. At number 8, we have my 4th favorite player in the NBA that's not a Chicago Bull, Joel Embiid. He put up an insane 27 and 13 in the regular season. He is a great defender and an underrated passer, getting 4 assists a game last season, but the dude has way too many health issues, and he had more issues in the playoffs. So it's harder to rank him ahead of the guy that's coming up next. And speaking of that, at number 7, we have Nikola Jokic. Embiid versus Jokic has been a long debate that started since the beginning of last season, and it's a debate that I can never come to a concise answer on. He averaged 20, 11, and 7. Down the line, he could become the first player in the modern era to average a legitimate triple-double, shots fired, and his impact offensively is just so significant that I can't put him under Embiid. Honestly, just consider them tied for me because I really don't know. Jokic is an average defender, had a down year from 3, but he can definitely hit them. I don't know. All I know is the Nuggets were really good last year, and most of that was because of Jokic. At 6, Anthony Davis. Some people have been underrating him lately because he didn't play much last year, and also because he hasn't won shit in New Orleans, but first of all, he didn't get much of a chance to win in New Orleans. And second, this guy over the last 3 years has averaged 27, 12, and 2.5 blocks. He is probably the best pick and roll big man in the game. Scratch that. He's definitely the best pick and roll man in the NBA. He's a phenomenal defensive player. I think he'll be even better on that side in LA now that he's not the only guy that can score on his team. Now, here we are in the top 5. And starting us off at 5, we have James Harden. Harden is an unbelievable player. One of the best shooters in the league, probably the second best ball handler and the best ISO scorer in the NBA. He can generate bucket after bucket all day. He averaged an insane 36 points a game this year, as well as 7 rebounds and 8 assists. He shot 37% from 3 on fucking 13 attempts a game. This dude is ridiculous on offense. Unfortunately though, this comes with a but. While Harden is one of the best offensive players the NBA has ever seen, his defense is still not great. He's not the meme level defender that he used to be, but he's still not good. And more importantly, he consistently underperforms in the playoffs, whereas everyone except for 1, maybe 2 of the guys ahead of him always either elevate themselves or at least are on par with their regular season in the playoffs. At 4, we have LeBron James. Blasphemous to some of you, I'm sure. But to me, until he proves otherwise after the season he had last year, I can't put him over any of the guys that I have ahead of him. I understand the injuries were a factor, but LeBron James did not look like the undisputed best player in the league, LeBron James, last season. His defense isn't as bad as the cherry-picked videos on Twitter would have you believe, but he still uses minimal effort on that side. He also has a tendency to take lazier shots than he ever has, just chucking up threes instead of going inside. I don't know, man, last year was weird for LeBron. There's a very real shot that he'll be higher on this list than he was for me previously, depending on how this upcoming season goes with a better team and hopefully less injuries, but as of now, I can't put him ahead of the 3 guys that are ahead of him. Number 3 is my second favorite non-Bulls player in the league, Stephen Curry. I really cannot stand the way that people disrespect Steph. 3 years ago, he put up 30 points a game on 50, 45, 90 shooting splits. He is one of the greatest offensive players to ever live. You already know about his shooting, but the gravity that he brings as well makes him one of the best teammates of all time in my opinion. He makes the game so much easier for his teammates. And please don't give me that he never won Finals MVP bullshit. He should have won it back in 2015 for starters, and for the last 2 rings that he has won, he put up great numbers. Kevin Durant's numbers were just better, and part of the reason that KD's numbers would be so good is the gravity that Steph brings onto the court. I am really just tired of people disrespecting him. In the part 1 of this top 100 list, some guy posted his top 15 list in the comments and put Stephen Curry at 12th. Yeah. Fuck out of here. Number 2 is Giannis. He could move down 3 spots for me depending on what time you ask me. I understand he underperformed versus the Raptors, but I really blame most of that on Mike Budenholzer. The Raptors built a defense that essentially put a wall in front of the rim, and Mike's solution to that was, well, let's just have Giannis isolate. That'll work. Let's have him run directly into that wall and hope for the best. But outside of that series, Giannis is one of the best defenders in the league, which is why he was in the Defensive Player of the Year race with Paul George and Rudy Gobert. He is both a shot blocker, averaging 1.5 blocks a game last year, and a phenomenal perimeter defender. He is probably the best version of he can defend all 5 positions ever. Offensively, he is a freight train. He needs to be used way more in the pick and roll and in the post, not used as an ISO player, bud. Anyways, that's Giannis. And finally at number 1, we have Kawhi Leonard. The playoff run that Kawhi just had is the second best that I have ever seen in my life, coming only second to LeBron the year prior. He averaged 39 and 4 in the playoffs this year, hit a fucking Game 7 buzzer beater for the first time in history, which resulted in him showing emotion on the court for the first time in history. He did disappear at times a bit in the finals, but overall the dude was a great scorer while also being the best wing defender in the league. I feel people don't fully appreciate how good of a scorer Kawhi Leonard is. The guy averaged 26 a game this year and 30 in the playoffs. He's one of the best isolation scorers in the league, a fantastic shooter, fantastic at driving to the basket or pulling up in the mid-range. He's great in the post. His offensive game is amazing, outside of passing. So that's my top 100 players in the league list. I look forward to all of these guys completely contradicting all of my points and making me look like an idiot and having you all call me a clown in the comment section. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this and cue the outro music.